Wrong one, by the way.
That needs to be updated. That will be updated. All right, and just stand by for one moment. I need to start a recording internally, so just stand by one moment.
Oh, what's wrong with the town seal?
Okay, we're on YouTube now also.
That will be updated. We have to mute. Just someone has to mute because I'm hearing some feedback. All right, almost ready. Give me 10 seconds.
9, 8.
All right, all set, thanks.
Oh, not 9 seconds.
Okay, can I start?
Yes, you're all set, we're live.
All right. Welcome to the April 7th, 2022 meeting of the Orange Government Access Television Committee. I'm the chairman, Saul Silverstein. We have with us tonight the coordinator, Ron Davis, member Gary Del Piano, member Mike Muddett, and member Bob Kelly, who is only on audio tonight, as well as the recording secretary, Marlene Silverstein, and assistant coordinator, Chris Kelly, I'm sorry. First item on the agenda tonight is questions and comments. Does anyone have any? Okay, I do have one comment. I received an email from Selectman Mitch Goldblatt making me aware that we are using the wrong town seal on several areas of the OGAT channel. Apparently there are 2 versions of the town seal. The one we're using was used for the sesquicentennial. It's not the official town seal. And the way you tell them apart is there are 2 oxen in the seal, and in the official town seal, the oxen have no ribbons on their necks. The one for the sesquicentennial, which is the one we have right now in the bug in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, has the ribbon. So that is the incorrect town seal. We also have the wrong one on the opening and closing titles of our programs and on the YouTube channel, and the program thumbnails on the YouTube channel. So Chris, I sent you an email asking you to take care of that. I'm hoping you will get to that soon.
Where do we get a copy of your right one?
I sent it to him.
We did.
And
Yes.
is that the one Mitch?
And I sent you a copy also, Ron.
I didn't see it.
And so that copy was sent to you by Mitch?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Actually,
Yeah, that will be
emailed
changed. By the next meeting, it will be updated, everything.
Good.
Great. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right.
So-
Next, we have the minutes of the March 10th meeting. I have sent you all the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, that was Bob
Second.
Kelly, seconded by Mike Muddett. Is there any discussion? No? In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Gary, you're muted. I can't see. In fact, I can't see or hear you.
Gary lost, he dropped off or something.
Gary is muted. Let me see if I can unmute him.
He's there.
I said aye, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much. I sent everyone a copy of the budget. And if we, this is 2 pages as usual. One is the CAC grant budget, which there's no new funding there yet. So that's just what we spent last year on the last budget, on the last CAC grant. For the current year budget, if you take a look, we've got one line overrun right now, and that's the assistant camera operators. And that it's overrun by about $1,300 out of a $5,000 budget. And the reason for that is, as we mentioned at the last meeting, is the enormous amount of time being devoted to making videos for the bicentennial. And we can discuss that a little later when we get into the coordinator reports. So are there any other questions? Everything else seems to be pretty much on track. Are there any other questions on the budget? Nope. Second thing, today I sent you an email that I received today from the finance department showing our budget for the next fiscal year. And we were approved for the amount we asked. We asked for $78,000, which is the amount we had this year, I believe. We did not ask for an increase. And there is a budget hearing scheduled for April 21st at 7 p.m. at High Plains Community Cafeteria. They've asked all the department heads to show up. I will try and be there if I can. If anyone else wants to go, you're welcome
No, I'll
to.
be there.
Who?
I said, if not, I'll be there.
Okay. So I think that's in case people have questions. Any other questions on that budget? No.
Is there,
What?
is there nothing, are the people that are working for us getting no raises this year?
No, there were, I think I put in exactly what we had last year. I think we approved that back in November or December.
I couldn't remember, so that's all.
Yeah, I think it's the same as last year. I think they all got them. They usually put restrictions on the raises, and they say that they will be approved by the Board of Selectmen if there's money available or something like that. Other than union contracts, and we don't have any union employees. Coordinators report. So Ron, do you have it? Care to go over it?
Continued to record interviews with many longtime residents of Orange as part of a series of videos for the bicentennial celebration. Next, all the video interviews will be transcribed, and then Mr. Kelly and assistant will edit the interview videos per the transcriptions and add the B-roll shots and photos. That's it. I'd like to ask Assistant Chris Kelly to give us a brief update on the current activities concerning video for the bicentennial.
Sure. So we've done, I think, 35 people. Every interview went really well. We are currently taking in all the footage, transcribing it all, and that is going to take up most of April. Throughout April, we'll be scheduling some times to go out and shoot in the field, some B-roll shots of some farms, some different things in town to sort of put over the overall final piece, which will be the 2-hour documentary sort of format. That is going to be scheduled to air sometime at the end of June, early July, and we're working towards that goal, and we're just moving right along.
Didn't they have to transcribe them first?
Me and Lauren are each doing an interview per day, and that's going to get us, finished by end of April. And then at that point, we can sort of go through each interview. We can highlight things that we liked, things that will work well in a sort of a larger scale 2-hour sort of piece that will accumulate, that will basically be a collective of all of the interviews, and it will sort of tie together a lot of major things that a lot of these people have talked about. So we're going to go from the beginning of Orange, the history, and we're going to take it all the way up to the present. And we're going to try to, highlight some of the major things, like some of the transformations on the Boston Post Road. We're going to try to highlight some of the major things, like the sesquicentennial was a big thing that actually spawned the country fair. So we're going to talk about that history a little bit and some of the people involved. There's some really cool stories about that era, around the sesquicentennial. And we have just a lot of a lot of really interesting stories from people. We've interviewed people that actually their house was right on the town hall, like where the town hall is now. Their house was there, and they were basically explaining to us how their living room was right where we were filming this interview. So there's some really cool stories that take you back, when things were a lot different, and kind of illustrates, what Orange was like and where we all came from.
That's going to be great.
Yep.
You said that you and Lauren were doing the transcriptions. I thought they had two other people to do that.
So we found that doing our own transcriptions was more helpful to us because we can produce them pretty quickly, and it's very important that we use them for editing purposes. There's so much content, in terms of, we have hours of footage. The quickest way to get through this footage is to have it all on paper. And we don't want to put any pressure on anyone else to try to, because our deadlines are a little tight, and we're trying to work efficiently.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea of somebody else doing the transcriptions and handing it to you because they don't know what you need to do.
And it's very, I was involved in every interview minus maybe 2 or 3 at the end. I had Lauren take upon herself because she was doing really well. So having us do these transcriptions, I mean, we were there. We were, it's helping us, bring back some of the key points of the interviews. It's a good thing for us to go through this ourselves, to help familiarize ourselves with everything. So I think it's good that we're doing it. And I think, although it can be timely because we're taking we're putting this all in a Word document, and, an hour-long interview can be 30 pages on a Word document. So we're trying to condense it to, something that's a little bit more, we're getting a 30-page interview down to 5 pages, and we're able to kind of, keep everything manageable that way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Chris, quick question. So you mentioned a 2-hour video. I mean, that is a long video produce. I mean, like Sony Studios has challenges producing a good 2-hour video.
Totally.
Who came up with that time period? Because I mean, 2 hours can be hard to sit through.
2 hours can be hard to sit through. We have so much content that I'm almost leaning towards we're not going to have, there's going to be too much, and we're not going to have enough time to put all this stuff in there. That's kind of that's kind of where I feel like we are. But I think as we get things more finessed, I think we're going to have a better idea on what we're working with. And maybe 2 hours is a little bit optimistic to shoot for. I'm not really shooting for any specific time. I definitely want to keep it over an hour. I definitely want to keep it under 2 hours. So somewhere between there.
Yeah.
So you're editing the transcriptions live as you do them, right? Cutting stuff out.
Yeah, the transcriptions. So we take the interview, and we get the audio to a point where we're happy, and we feed the MP. We take the MP3 file of that interview. So that we just take the audio file and we feed it into Word, and Word basically dictates the entire interview, and it doesn't do it perfectly. So that's why we go through it, and it actually puts a timestamp on everything, and it actually divides the dialogue into the people. So it's able to tell who's talking. Like it can differentiate between different people. So it makes it super easy to start with. We're not starting out like typing all this from scratch. We're working off of something that's being created for us, and we're able to do it pretty quickly that way. And
That's good, Chris. I think we're going to come up with a lot of good stuff. And here's the big question, especially with the committee being present. what are you going to end up with, and what are we going to put on OGAT?
Well,
Or you can tell us what's available to put on OGAT. I think the committee has to figure out what to do with it.
there's going to be a lot available. I mean, we're trying not to we're trying to come up with priorities. So the priority is to have something by by the end of June, July. After we get this 2 hour piece, 1 to 2 hour piece done, I would like to show that on OGAT. I'd like to air that in some format. If you guys have any ideas on how we air that, or how sort of how we decide to.
Well, we need to know what's coming.
Need to know what's what?
We need to know what we have to shoot. I mean, what we have to show.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ron's right. I mean, we probably should look at it first, right? Just to make sure it's something that we want to, but I'm not too worried about that. I think I'm sure you'll produce something that's fine for OGAT as far as mission statement and everything related to the town and everything. And just, no, I'm just doing quick math in my head. And if you have 30 interviews, and even if you took the aggressive time of 2 hours, that's really cutting every interview or person's screen time down to 4 minutes.
Right. Exactly.
And so, I mean, what I hate to happen is you did 30 interviews and really the best content comes from like 5 people. Cause you think about the documentaries they shoot, that people they actually show on screen is probably 5 or 6 per documentary, not really 30 people.
Well, that is interesting that you mentioned that, because there are some people that their particular interview happened to have a lot of content in it. There may be, I could see potential interviews being more included than others, just based on the fact of what the content was and how it may help kind of drive the storyline of this project. But we're so early in.
You have to get further down the line to see where it's going. The only thing I'm concerned about is I don't know how the Bicentennial Committee really introduced this concept to the residents that were interviewed. I just don't want them. I don't want to let anybody down in case they we don't want a 4-hour thing and we can't include every single. I mean, some of the stories are probably fantastic. So
are you saying that you want to make sure everyone that was interviewed was included, or you want to?
No, I really want to just make sure that I'm fine with people not being included if we can't fit it in a reasonable time frame window. Yeah. I just want to make sure the residents know that, because I just don't want to make anybody feel like they're slighted by their stuff hitting the cutting room floor. Right. So 30 people.
And by residents, are you talking about people involved in the interview?
Yes, people that you interviewed, like
people involved.
If there's 30 people, if number 25 and number 26 didn't end up in the video just because they didn't fit the storyline and we ran out of time.
Oh, totally.
I don't know what the Bicentennial Committee told these residents that you interviewed.
Okay, can I just, our goal is to include everyone that was interviewed in some way. How much time each person gets may vary.
Hey, Gary has a question.
If we have, let's say you said 30, I'm going to use that number. Let's say we have 30 people, and there are some there are some of the interviews that are much better than others of the interviews. How about if you, if let's say we come up with 6 interviews that are the best ones, or maybe you have 10 that are the best ones, and then you have the other 20 people that, there's some good stuff and some not so good stuff. What's to stop us from making like 5 reels and you using the real good interviews as like the midpoint of the reel, and then you have a few in the beginning and a few at the end of just what the people are saying, maybe a couple of clips of each, or maybe you intertwine them in the front and the back, or maybe it all has the same idea or what's the term I'm looking for, guys?
Theme.
Theme. Thank you. Yeah, maybe it has the same theme. And so each one then, so now you have 5 reels that are maybe a half hour each. You can play them back to back, which would give you an hour on OGAT. And what you can name them.
3 hours.
Well, yeah, it would be 3 hours, but you're not going to want to play them back to back you're going to want to play 2 of them back to back for an hour, let's say. Or maybe in some places you might throw one in, and if it was a half hour, you might throw it in somewhere where you have that extra rather than having that
Right.
weather up there for an hour and a half.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Yep.
And then the other thing you could do is then you could name them, and then people could keep track of which ones they saw. So they didn't have to, you could say, okay, now this this theme is whatever it is, the center of town.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Agriculture, town government.
Yeah, whatever.
Post road,
that kind of thing. Exactly. And then they could have watched those. And now they watch the one they want to watch. And now they know, oh, I want to watch that one again because I missed this. And so now you have something bringing people back to watch or going online to watch. And that's the other thing that I'm thinking about. Do we want to put these online early, or do we want to make them come to the channel? I don't know what
there are some parties that I was told that there are some parties that don't want to be online for international distribution. So we have to figure out some way to keep it local.
That's totally fine. That's totally doable. Yeah, and we can make that happen. Yeah.
Oh.
We can. Well, our cloud. Let me give you an example. We pay for our VOD for Teleview. We pay for Cloudcast storage, and that is not international. That is local. That is restricted to anything. Only, and technically, it's we post it on the town website. If we post it on the town website, it could be international, right? So you could make it so it's restricted. You can make it so that it only airs. I mean, there's plenty of ways to get around keeping it from getting out internationally.
That's all I wanted to know.
I think we have to explore what that means, though, because I think some people, when they're saying internationally, maybe they don't want people in New York seeing it. So that starts getting a little. Nothing against New York, but I'm just saying we don't want to get crazy with that, right? Like, I get U.S. only restrictions, right?
Totally.
But I just don't want to get crazy. No. If there is people that do not want it produced and go on the internet for US, then I think we have to think about taking those people out of the video
and not using it, right?
Because it's just too much of a problem.
Absolutely.
May I just say something? From the sales of the Orange Historical Society medallions, there are a lot of Orange residents living outside of this town, and I'm not talking about the state, I'm talking about all over this country, all over this world, and they have purchased the medallions. They want to know, they're interested in what we're doing, and I think they would be interested in seeing the bicentennial, whatever we come up with.
If we're gonna put it online, I don't think we should restrict any of it. To where it's going. I think what we do have, if there are people that truly don't want to be distributed, then they're going to have to be left out. No,
Judy told me that there are definitely some people that don't want it international.
Well, yep. And
find out that, just find out who those are and have a discussion with them, and then let them know that we may not be able to include their input. It's going on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
I think, and that's going to be one of the first things that we have to probably establish, because and we can just immediately check those people off the list, because I think, and it also comes down to do they not want their video shown, or do they, is it the whole entire, is it just, if we included their audio, would that be acceptable? I think that there may be some sort of, maybe because if someone had something really nice to say and we said, hey, look, we're not going to include your picture, but you said some really nice things here. Would you mind that being in the video? We may want to. I don't know how if that.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, that's going to make it really hard for yourself if you're trying to put audio over
That's a lot of
B-roll
extra
and
work.
Well, I mean,
it's, I think I appreciate that you're trying to bend over backwards, but I think at this point, I think we just have to need to talk to Judy more and understand how many people are we talking about, and is it going to hurt like you said, the content to cut those videos completely?
yeah.
The fact is, all this editing that we're talking about is going to cost him more time, and he's running short of time as it is for the Centennial.
I will. Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the creative thinking, but you're short on time.
Right. The B-roll is definitely going to be in there. Initially we planned to have B-roll and have not just people talking. We wanted to have, shots over audio. We're scanning pictures, we're scanning documents to go through to add over some people, and we have plans to include not just people's faces. So when I mentioned that we were only going to include people's audio, that's something that is going to be kind of, we're going to see a lot of that. So I just
Chris, I don't want to crush your you're going to get a flow with this, right? Like if you can't show their face, there's a lot of challenges with putting this in perspective, right? Who am I interviewing? Who's talking right now? Like, are we allowed to put their name on the screen? Like, there's just so many problems that you'll have to come up with. I think we really just have to draw the line of this is going on the internet. This is going on the OGAT streaming site and YouTube. If you're not okay with that, then let's look at the content being removed right now. I appreciate your creativity, but I think you're just going to end up cutting yourself into a box.
Well, I think like Judy and I have talked a lot about what we thought the final piece should be, and I just think that when Gary mentioned what he was saying about like doing maybe multiple videos and having things that kind of fit into our normal like routine with what we show on OGAT, I totally am up for that. Like that is a great idea, and I think. But what Judy and I are focusing on right now for June and July is we're not trying to recreate what was done in 72 with what was his name? Bob Reed. Thank you. We're not trying to do exactly what he did, but we're trying to do something that similar in the similar sense where we have something to take away that's just part of the bicentennial. So it may not even show on OGAT at all. If it comes, so I'm happy to not even show it on OGAT at all. If we want to avoid this, I'm happy to just make a DVD. But I think what we've come up with is something we want to kind of stay true to in terms of the format and stuff, because I've worked with Judy on what her ideas were, and we've kind of established something we already with that. So I just want to try to keep just keep to what we've been kind of planning in a way, and then worrying about what we want to do for OGAT after this deadline.
Yeah. So I mean, to go back to Gary's point though for a second, right? So I appreciate what you're saying. So I appreciate what you're saying about the trying to stay with that format. I really think that the 5 30-minute or 5 25 30-minute videos will help the whole thing move a lot. Because even if you hit the date and you have 3 30-minute videos, they're 3 30-minute videos that are done. And then you can finish the next 4 or 5 or whatever you want to do. Right. I think trying to do a 2-hour feature film, I mean, think about how long movies get delayed in the box office. And I know you're not trying to go to that level, but you're just going to get into, okay, the last 30 minutes are killing me. Well, if we broke it up into 5, the first 4 videos are done.
I just want to put it in. I also want to explain the workflow a little bit more, because I think this may help like conceptualize how something like this would come together. So let's just say you're writing like a story on paper, right? Instead of coming up with the whole story from a blank sheet of paper, we have essentially pages and pages of stories and content. And we could these transcriptions are in the format of, okay, we have timestamps for when people said stuff. And we have everything condensed. We could go through and highlight everything that we like from those interviews. And then we could further refine everything. And we can basically copy and paste all of these, sections from these interviews into a giant Word document. And then at that point, we have timestamps for when they said all this stuff. So how hard would it be to then just drag and drop all of these different, sections into a timeline? And my thinking was, if every single interview is, color corrected and audio is all synced up, I don't, in the editing software is very, very efficient. It makes stuff like this very easy. For multicam stuff as well, you can do like really cool real-time multicam switching throughout the shots. So my thinking was, if everything is on paper first and we're just kind of following this one script and we know where everything is based on these timestamps, I don't see why we couldn't just, I could see, what my thinking was is, after we put this big storyline together, we're not gonna have enough, we're gonna have too much stuff, and we're gonna have to further cut it into a 2-hour format possibly.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is, like, you could end up coming up with 5 hours worth of material.
Easy.
Nobody's going to sit through 5 hours.
No, exactly. So
right. But that's where Gary's idea comes in perfectly, right? Is because now you have 7 half-hour videos. And if somebody said, I want to see the part on agriculture theme, they grab that video. They go to that. They wait for that to come on OGAT, right? Where a 5-hour video, how in the world are you going to know that in 30 minutes and 15 seconds in is when resident X name is going to show up?
What I'm saying is we could do that, but after we put something like at least one piece together. Maybe it's only an hour, and we condense this, but it's,
if you do an hour, then you're going to get like literally 30 seconds per resident or less.
Right. And it may actually flow really well. So, it may actually flow in a way that someone that's not like totally involved in this, someone maybe just a random resident may actually be interested, because, it's just,
I'm just thinking about how somebody tells a story. And I don't think I've ever heard a story told in 30 seconds.
It's not so much of the individual story. It's about the general theme of everyone's story. And it's picking themes that are common in everyone's interview, and what do those themes have to do with Orange? What are some overall things that we can take away, about the residents at the time, about how people lived, about volunteering. We talk about the importance of volunteering and stuff. So there's just things that we want to try to all, accumulate and then kind of tell in one piece. And then we can, after that, maybe work on different things that focus on agriculture, focus on this.
But like, Chris, that's what I'm trying to say is you're trying to eat the wheel of cheese before you take a slice. And that's where you're going to get in trouble. So 100% do what you need to do, start working on it, figure out how much time it's going to take you. By all means, go with your flow. I don't want to try to rest you. But if you try to eat the wheel of cheese before you take a slice, then the wheel of cheese never gets eaten because you fill up. And meanwhile, nobody has a slice, right? So that I'm just trying to say, try to make this so that it's definitely finishable and can easily expand. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, totally. All right, Chris, we have a lot of great ideas here. Who is going to review the transcript? Is it you, Lauren and Judy Williams, or anyone else? Is going to be
anyone can review it. We can send it on.
You're going to be putting this video together.
Yeah.
One video, 5 videos. I don't know how many, 7 videos. Yeah, but who is going to sit down, review that script, decide which chunks go where, and then lay it out with the script you're going to use? Is that going to be you and Lauren, and Judy?
Yes.
Is it going to be someone else in addition to that? Who's going to do that?
It's going to be a lot of that's going to be me, Lauren and I, and we will have Judy come in to essentially review what we are doing to make sure it is, you know, to her liking and to the
Well, actually-
overall idea of what's going, you know, what we're going for. And then at some point, we're probably going to have to call in other people. Like I would like to have Jim Zioli review it at some point before we release it. I would be happy to send it to anyone in the community to review it.
What I'm trying to get at is there should be some core group of people who sit
Yeah.
together around the table,
Right.
review the text and decide, oh, look, it jumps into these 4 or 5 themes. Let's separate
Yes.
the 4 or 5 themes
Yep.
and then go from there. Okay.
Yeah.
But who's
So
to
we're gonna
say
have-
it's gonna- yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and what I think based the team, so because Diane and Nina from the library have been helping with these transcriptions. They were offering to assist with them initially, but we decided that we're gonna do the initial like bulk of the transcriptions. We're gonna transcribe them to a point where we can all review them, and we're gonna give them to Diane and Nina to go through as well, because they also want to use these transcriptions to potentially do something else with.
Right, which that
So-
makes perfect sense. Put it
so
in there.
there's-
That makes
so
perfect
all I'm
sense.
trying to get at, Chris, is get a group together,
Yeah,
sit down, and after word gets done going from audio to text for you automatically,
yeah,
and read this thing and figure out, are there themes that we can make more than one program around, or does it really fit into one big program, or whatever
Yeah.
shows up, all right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
and-
may jump out at you right there. It may, just
Yeah.
reading it may jump out at you. And get a group together, because a little group can probably do this well. And then you can go from there. But, you know, it's kind of, right now, it sounds a little catch as catch can, and we'll try this one, you know,
Yes.
Well, next month,
I agree, and I don't want to sound like I'm narrowed to one thing either. I want to be open to everything that everyone's suggesting, and I think I'm going to have a better answer to those suggestions and how we go forward once I have a little bit more, you know, done in terms of because we've done about 6 to 7 transcriptions, so we've gotten the chunk out of it, but we're not, you know, we still have a little ways to go. So I want to do some more.
6 or 7 out of 35.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a chunk.
Well, it's
And it sounds like you have 15 days to go with 2 people.
yeah.
Yeah, you
that's
know,
20%.
Chris, first off, I understand Judy went to Australia
Yes.
for 3 weeks. So you could probably get some of the transcriptions done because you're not going to do any interviews for that 3 weeks, right?
Exactly. Yes. That
Okay.
was
We're done with the
All
interview.
right. And
Hold on, yeah, hold on.
my second suggestion to you is, once you've done the transcripts, create a storyboard. That will help you
Yes.
make it flow nicely, because you can
Yep.
you can switch things around, you know. We used to do it on 3x5 index cards, so you can move things around and say, oh,
Yes.
this looks good here, but then as you get further on, you go, that doesn't belong there, it belongs here. You just pull it off and put it where you want it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
So just
Yeah.
to clarify that, Chris, you're done with
are we,
interviews.
are we,
We have some interviews that we have Jim to do, and we have some stuff with Pat O'Sullivan that he was going to film, that we were going to film with him. So little things here and there, but we're pretty much done.
do you have a cutoff date for no more interviews, so that just to stop the process? And
Well,
let you
yeah,
do
well,
the rest of the work?
yeah, we're trying. I mean, we said the end of April. We're done with interviews. By April, we're done. I mean, that's it.
It sounds like you're cutting it kind of close, but
Yeah. When's the video you said had to be done?
The end of June, beginning of July.
uh,
So that gives us all of May to do editing and putting things together, getting additional B-roll.
You're going to have to push.
Hopefully we can finesse things and review. And if we push it into July, in the beginning of July, first week, first, second week of July, we're okay with that. But we're shooting for then.
okay. we're kind of, there's a lot going on this topic. Unless there's anything else major anyone has, I'd like to stop at this point and continue with the coordinator report. Anyone else have anything of significance they want to add at this point?
Once everything is transcribed, I'd be happy to read through it and see if I can find a theme or something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If I'd be happy to share whatever with you guys. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gary. Thank you, Gary. All right. So on the other items from the coordinator's report, just some statistics. March, we had 211 live hits on Teleview Cloudcast. Video on demand, we had 210 hits. And on YouTube, between live and video on demand, we had 740 hits. So I'll take a motion to approve the coordinator report.
So moved.
Okay, that was Mr.
Second.
Kelly and Mr. Muddick. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I sent everyone a second coordinator report. I sent the February report that we approved last time because as I was going over the March report that Ron sent me, I was referring to the February report and I noticed an error on it. On the second page where it lists the statistics, it says February live hits, February VOD hits, and then it says December YouTube hits. And it should have said February. So I'll take a motion to correct that.
So moved.
Okay, that's Gary and Mike. Mike had his hand up. Mike Muddick. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That takes care of that. The next item on the agenda is internet access. And what this is Chris communicated with me during the month the question. And I guess he was asked by the IT director of IT whether or not we would want to drop our Optimum internet service and go with the town's ISP, I guess, the town's service. Now, we had discussed this over the last few years several times, but it never went anywhere. But it sounds a little more serious now. Originally, when we got internet access, the finance director at that time, who was in charge of the town's internet access, did not want us to be using the town network. He was afraid that we would use up a lot of bandwidth. And so we went and got our own internet access through Optimum. But now I guess the decision is, oh, you guys are okay. You know, OGAT can use the town internet access. So this is the question. So should we, is this really a valid offer at this point, or is this just somebody talking? What's going on, Chris?
No, it's a valid offer. And what I told them was I would wait till we talk about it to move further with it.
Okay. So I have no issues with it. What are the downsides for us, Chris?
So,
What are the
so
downsides?
there's a few things to think about here. One is I believe Chris still uses remote access to minister a lot of the gear when he's not in the office. I don't know what the town is using for ISP or for security, but it gets a lot harder as you start hitting enterprise gear to do that remote access without
Totally.
without
So
a lot of checks in place. So, I mean, again, there's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with putting the checks in place and getting it done correctly. I'm just saying we have to talk to the technology director and make sure he understands what we do with the connection.
Totally.
And make sure he can meet that.
Yep. And I talked to him about it. We've talked about it a little bit in detail, and I've mentioned what we do regarding the remote access. And we decided that instead of, like right now we use to not get into detail, too much detail.
Yeah, don't share too much detail on a public meeting about how we access our stuff, please.
Yeah. So we are going to do a more secure method, and it will not require using our server to access. We would not require accessing our server remotely. It will be a different way. And so we've talked about that because we the director understands that we need to have remote access. So we figured out a way to securely implement that. And we're gonna go through a gradual migration process with this. We're going to take some of the important pieces like the server. We're going to try to migrate that first. We're going to do some brief testing to see how things work, but we're pretty confident that this is going to be a pretty simple switch. And you know, if anything is not working right, we're going to be sure that we address that before we do anything further. You know, we're not going to do a whole switch and then realize that this doesn't work. You know, we're going to make sure we do things in piecemeal and constantly check ourselves to make sure.
You can test that first, can't you?
Yeah. So the other piece of this is, sorry, go ahead. The cameras and the audio equipment and all also use the network, right?
Totally.
To while you're doing shoots. So
Right.
And I don't think it's that big a deal, but I don't know how flat the town network is, but I would like to see some kind of control to stop somebody that joins the town Wi-Fi network from being able to turn off a mic or move
Right.
the camera. Right.
Totally. So we don't actually allow any Wi-Fi publicly. And we don't actually allow Wi-Fi internally either, unless it's absolutely required. And the Wi-Fi is a separate channel for public use or internal use. So anything that we would use would be on our own separate channel, essentially, and we would not be. We would have our own Wi-Fi, essentially, with our own OGAT credentials that no one else would be using.
Yes, but if we're merging our networks, then they are becoming one unless there's a security block stopping OGAT from touching the town or town touching from OGAT. So if we're becoming on their internet, we're going to become part of the rest of their network. So that's why, yes, it's separate right now. That's perfect. That's the way we designed it, and nobody gets our access. But if you start merging it with the town network, there's nothing stopping from the first selectman's computer then reaching all the stuff, because it's all going to be on the same network and routable. Unless
it will not be on a separate VLAN. So it will not communicate with the selectman's computer.
VLANs just stop broadcasts. VLANs don't stop communication. So again, I'm sure that the town technology director, and I wouldn't mind having a conversation with them to involve in this. This is what
Okay, guys, so instead of discussing this on the air, Mike, if you're willing to discuss this with Chris and Paul.
Chris, just set up a meeting and we'll talk.
Yeah, and then Mike, you being kind of a guru on this anyway, if you could advise the committee at the next meeting what you think, then we could take it up there.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be a good move. Appreciate that.
And any other opinion on that?
And let me just mention that we would be obviously not. So by moving to this, so what we do now is we actually use, so if we go to High Plains Community Center, we plug our server, we plug our TriCaster into their network, and we plug our cameras into their network. That's what we do currently. Right now, we do not have building-to-building communication with, High Plains, and we are trying to achieve building-to-building communication to improve streaming live. Because if we can create that sort of thing, it will help, and it will help.
There are huge benefits. Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefits. I don't want to just harp on what the downsides could be. I want to also mention that we would also be saving money. We would not be charged for this internet service, so our cable bill would be eliminated. We would also be provided with antivirus software for all of our machines. Our machines would then have a higher, and this isn't some, it's good antivirus software that does not create issues. McAfee or whatever we use now has created issues with doing things with our computers. So all right.
Well, these are things that I think you and Mike and Paul.
Yeah. So there's benefits. There's a
and just come back with what the pros and cons are and a recommendation. I think, Mike, if you could do that, I would really appreciate it.
Yep.
And let the rest of the committee know where you think we should head. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the action items. And I don't suspect, like last month, since you're spending a lot of time on these interviews, I don't expect you've really attacked any of them. It was a couple of them were updating procedures. The equipment schematics, actually, I thought you had provided them last time. And coordinating the bicentennial, that's ongoing. So I think there's really not much to do there in terms of updating action items. CAT grant, we have to get our request in by July 15th. I know we talked about at the last meeting getting a second Macintosh computer.
Yep.
Right. I don't know if you thought of any other things in the month.
Yes, I did. Yep. I have a list of what I've come up with so far. Do you want me to send that over to you?
Please. I send it to everybody. Send it to the committee. Or send it to me. I'll send it to the committee.
Sure. Yeah. I just, it's a B&H wish list. Do you want me to send it to you as an Excel spreadsheet or like I've done in the past? You want
Excuse me?
Yes.
You want the Excel spreadsheet that I've done in the past?
Well, fine. Yeah, Excel spreadsheet's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work. Just send it out. I'll forward it to the committee. And we can discuss it at the next meeting. Yeah, anyone else have any ideas? Just bring them along. Equipment inventories, next item, nothing has changed. We haven't gotten any new equipment. Last item on the agenda is committee vacancies. I did send an email to the first selectman with the suggestion that was made at the last committee meeting that the Board of Selectmen look into reducing the size of the OGAT committee from 7 members to 5 members to give us a better shot at having a quorum with only 3 members present. I sent that earlier in the week or at the end. Yeah, I think I sent it Sunday actually, and I have not heard anything back. I know there's a Board of Selectmen meeting, I think a week from next Wednesday, actually, I think it is.
And are we going to appear?
What?
Will we have to appear for that?
I haven't had any communication from the first selectman telling me anything yet. So I haven't seen the agenda posted for the first selectman, for the Board of Selectmen meeting yet either. So if I hear something, I'll let you know.
So I don't know if we're looking to really make the number of people smaller on the committee. I just think we want to make the majority, the
quorum is, I think, what you want to make.
Quorum to be the amount, 50% of +1 of the number of members that are currently on the committee. That's really what we'd rather have, because we're always looking for more people, because that way down the road, maybe, people can leave and get off it and, move forward with things like that.
I think we talked about last meeting. I don't think we can change the majority rules. But
does that fly, Marlene?
Sorry, what?
I said, does that fly from?
It depends. It's really Robert's rules that get followed, and it depends on which issue there are. Like,
I didn't think Robert's rules set a quorum size. I think it's up to the.
It's up to. I don't know.
Whatever governing body governs the committee sets the quorum size, and it's
the
not
town doesn't set it. I mean, the town doesn't have anything official. The town follows Robert's rules.
Oh, I'll have to look at it again. I thought when I read it, it didn't really specify a size.
It doesn't specify.
No, but in order to get a smaller quorum than half, you'd be in violation of Robert's rules.
Well, I'm not looking for a smaller number than half. I'm just looking.
I must have misunderstood. I'm sorry.
I'm looking for a quorum being the number of members, being 50% +1 of the number of members that are currently on the board. I mean, if we only have 5 and the quorum was for 7, we would never have a meeting.
Well, that's what we have, right? We
Here's the situation. The situation is very simple. We have the committee has 7 positions.
Right.
It's supposed to have 7 members. We only have 5. We only have 4 members right now. 4 members is the quorum if you have 7 members. What Gary is saying, if we only have 4 members, then the quorum should be 3.
3. Right, exactly.
50%.
You're trying to base a quorum based on
right?
assigned or appointed
But
members.
that's not,
versus-
when I asked the town attorney this very question several years ago, he said, no, the quorum is 50% of the total membership, whether there's vacancies or not. Okay?
That's tough.
So that's our problem. So one solution, which I thought was the solution that we came to last time, was, well, let's just drop the membership down to a 5-member committee instead of a 7-member committee. And then we have a quorum with only 3 members. But I guess Gary, what he really meant was, well, make the quorum the number 50% plus 1 of the active members.
Right. That's what I was suggesting. But on the other hand, I guess if you went to 5, you could always add extra people.
Yeah. Well, I think it takes a resolution of the Board of Selectmen to do this. So either way, I think we'd have to go to the Board of Selectmen, and I haven't heard back from the first selectman after I sent the letter Sunday night. So we'll have to follow up on that. Okay.
Yep.
Any other things for discussion? That being said, I'll take,
So moved that we adjourn.
that was Bob Kelly, and I see Mike mudded his hands up. Okay, thank you all. And we will see you next month.
Good evening,
Okay.
What
George.
date is it next month? You know?
Marley.
What?
What date is it next month? You know?
What date is it next month?
Hold on, I got the schedule. Mr. Silverstein sent it to me. It is May 12th.
May 12th.
All right. Good enough. Thank you.